welcome to today's video. Happy New Year. This is my first video in the new year, so hope you guys are all having a great new year so far and a great week. Today's video, I just kind of wanted to talk about why I decided to use a midwife this pregnancy instead of going back to our original OB that we used with our first, and just kind of give you some information on why I picked that and why I think it's a better choice for us in general than going back to the hospital. I just kind of wanted to talk about why I decided to go natural this round. It's something very important to me, and for some crazy reason I am just bound and determined to have this baby natural. I just feel really at peace with my decision that I made about that, and I'm kind of excited. If you are new here, with our first baby we did use an OB, and we did have a hospital induction birth, and it was not natural at all, like not even a little bit. So that was with our firstborn. He did come out with some complications, like with his breathing and stuff, so I think that had a lot to play into like how I labored and what I put my body through in labor as to why he had those complications. When he came out, he just had a lot of trouble breathing, and he had a lot of trouble clearing out the fluid in his lungs like on his own. So there was a lot of scary talk about NICU and all of that, and it was kind of terrifying. Really, his whole labor and delivery was just kind of traumatizing to me. So I really knew that when we decided to have another baby, that this birth would be completely opposite, God willing, from our first. So it's not like our OB was terrible. She wasn't a terrible OB, and our hospital wasn't terrible. In my opinion, I just think OBs are more prone to pressuring you into doing things that you really don't want to do, and they're really not that great at explaining things that are happening or explaining things about what they want to do, and they just kind of do them, and I don't personally like that aspect about an OB. I also feel like OBs are really pushy. Like if you wanted to do, like if you thought you wanted to be an all-natural birth and you go into a hospital with an OB, I feel like they're more prone to be pushy and be like, oh, but we need to do all of this, or you'd feel so much better if you got the epidural. And I also feel like the nurses are really like that, so that's another aspect as to why I didn't want to. You'll have to excuse my dogs. That's another reason why I didn't want to go that route again. In my personal experience, I did choose to get induced. I wanted to do that because it was my first baby, and I had no idea what labor was like. I had no idea what to expect. So I decided to be induced. I regret that decision full-heartedly. I wish that I would have never done that. I wish I would have talked to more women who got induced and just learned about their experience, because now the women that I talked to, they didn't have a good experience either, and I wish I would have known that going into it. I'll link my whole birth story down below with him if you are interested, but those are just a lot of key points and why I wanted to go the opposite route. The reason why I think is because I am a doula now, and that is someone who is a support person for someone in labor, a medical advocate for the mom, someone that explains things to the moms if the OB and the nurses aren't really doing a good job at that, and they still have questions and they're confused. Doulas are there to help explain things. We're also very good trained in like relaxation techniques for women who are trying to go all natural or just trying to get through the contractions before getting their epidural, touch techniques that can help, hot and cold techniques. So I've learned a lot of that on my own, just becoming a doula, on things that should help me with labor and delivery. Being a doula has also just really shown me like what a woman's body is really capable of doing. Your body was designed to have a baby natural, and I just want to fully experience that. This will probably be our last baby. I'm not going to say for sure if it is, because we don't know what the future holds, but right now we feel like our family will be complete with this baby, so I just want that full experience with this one. I just want to fully know our body's capable of. I want to push my body to those limits for some crazy reason, And I think being a doula has a lot to do with that, just because I want to experience all of those things that the women body can do. I think that's another key part of being why I want to use a midwife this round. Also, if you didn't know, midwives go the more natural way, and they are not medical interfering. They try to really just let your body do what it needs to do to get your baby out. They're not going to be pushing like drugs onto you, epidurals onto you. They're not going to be telling you that, oh, you can't do it, you need to get this to rest. Like, they're not going to be telling you all that. They're going to be really encouraging to you because they know what you want to do, and they're going to support you full-heartedly. I don't feel like OBs do that. Some OBs. I'm not going to say this is for all OBs. I don't think some OBs, from my personal experience and my friends' experience and family and everybody that I know who's used an OB, that's just my opinion. I don't think some OBs will do that. They're gonna try to push things onto you. So we will be giving birth at the birthing center at our midwife's office. We will not be in a hospital, which could be kind of nerve-wracking. I get that. It does make my husband nervous, but I just feel really peaceful about it. I don't have any stress or anxiety about the fact that we won't be at a hospital if something were to go wrong. I just fully believe that it's gonna go fine, like, because it's gonna be a healthy labor and delivery, nothing's gonna go wrong, and we're not gonna have to worry about the hospital. Those things in my head may change the closer we get to delivery and stuff, but right now I'm just at a full peace with it, and I think that's a God thing. If something were to go wrong, we are only 5 minutes away from the hospital, driving the speed limit, so they'll be driving a lot faster than that if something is wrong, and we'll be fine. We will also be having like a freestanding birth. Like, I will not be hooked up to any monitors, any IVs, anything like that. I do plan to labor and deliver in the birthing tub. I know a lot of women plan to do that, and then they're like, oh, that was the last thing I wanted to do, is get in the water when they're having contractions. But that is my plan as of right now, is to deliver in the water. Always wanted to do that. So I will be free from any cords, any monitors. My midwives will check the baby's heart rate whenever I'm having contraction, just to make sure that the baby's not in distress or anything. So that's where that will come into play. So like, if you were to happen to have an epidural in the hospital, you would be hooked up to all of the monitors and restricted to the bed, and I don't want that at all. Had that with my son, and I was in bed for a long time. It was awful. I want to be able to move around, stand up, bounce on the birthing ball, get in the tub, all of those things. And so that's another reason why we chose to use a midwife this time. This is just my opinion. My opinion, probably as a doula, but just my opinion. I think a lot of women, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how women go natural. Like, that's the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And I think a lot of that comes into play to women who plan to get epidurals. There's nothing wrong with women getting epidurals, like, at all. Like, I know that crap hurts, and no shame at all. You want to get an epidural, girl, you do that. No shame. But that's just not what I want to do this time. But I think a lot of women who also, like, have to end up having a natural birth, and they did not plan on that. Like, they wanted that epidural. They were not expecting to have to go natural, and that's just the way things happen, because, you know, shit happens in labor. And, you know, that kind of terrifies them. I think a lot of that reasoning as to why it's so painful and why it's so terrifying is because they didn't go in prepared to have a natural birth. They went in prepared to get that pain relief and just kind of be relaxed. So I think the fact that they are having all of a sudden this natural birth, they were not prepared. That's not what they wanted. It is going to be a lot more painful and a lot harder because you're just not prepared. Me personally, I think the fact that I am a doula now, it will help me a lot. Like I said before, doulas are trained in a lot of ways to help women get through natural labor and just get through those contractions before you get an epidural. So I think knowing all of that, knowing those techniques is really going to help me, and I think that's another reason why I'm not scared to have a natural birth. I know that's going to hurt. Trust me, I'm not in denial about it. I know that shit's going to hurt. It's going to be the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. but I'm doing it. And for some reason, I want to. And a lot of women do it. And a lot of women make it look really easy. But anyways, those are just some of the reasons why I chose to use the midwife this round. I just don't want this experience to be anything like my experience with my first. Even when I had to push him out, I was just like so out of it from one, being exhausted from being in labor for so long, and I think how strong my epidural was. I really just like had no emotion to him coming out. Obviously I loved my baby and I was so excited to see my baby, but I just had no emotion. It's like I was in a daze. Like, I really don't even remember it, and I hate saying that because that kind of makes me sound like a terrible mom, but it wasn't like I was not excited to meet my baby. I was just so out of it, and I think that had to do with all of the stuff they were pumping into my body. Just don't want that to be the case this time. I want to be fully aware of what my body's doing and just be fully present to when this baby's born. I'm kind of just like ready for it. I'm ready for the baby to be here already, and I have like 25 weeks left to go. We actually go see our midwives tomorrow, and they are just way more personal than our first OB. They care more. Like, if you go see an OB, it's just like, hey, you're good, all right, bye. And you wait like so long. Like, for us to go see our OB, we had to wait like an hour in the waiting room, and then we were in there for like 5 seconds. So with our midwives, it's just completely different. They're way more personal. They really want to know about our lives because they're going to be with us through the most personal part of our life, having a baby. Like, for me at least, they're going to be personal. So they're just a lot more caring, I feel like, and they really listen to you and to what you want, and they really stand by you, and I'm just really excited. We've only met with them twice. Yes, twice. On my first appointment and our last one, and then we'll meet with him tomorrow because we're obviously just once a month right now. And it kind of took a while for us to decide what midwives we wanted to do. I wish we had someone closer to us with a birthing center, because I just really don't want to use a midwife and give birth in a hospital. I want the birthing center or home birth for my husband. It's not about the home birth life. So that's another reason why we chose a midwife, is because they're a lot more personal. Probably the last reason is because of COVID, and I don't want to have to deal with all the COVID crap and all the COVID policies, because I'm sure it'll still be going on in June when the baby is due. I want my husband to be guaranteed to be there. I don't want to have to wear a mask through labor. I think that's really cruel, and I don't want to have to do that. And I want my son to be able to come and meet his sibling when it's born and not have to wait, you know? I don't want to have to deal with all of that. So our midwives, they really understand that. They're really family oriented. We can have whoever we want come to the appointments. My husband can of course come to all of them. Our son can even come. He came to our last one because he had an ultrasound. So we wanted him to see the baby, and he got to come. Anybody can be there with me during labor, but I just wanted to meet my husband. But my mom, I'm sure, will come wait in the waiting room, and she is allowed to do that. Like, nobody has to wear a mask. We don't have to, I don't have to worry about that during labor and delivery. And we actually get to go home later that day, like a couple hours later. Everything's all good. We will get to go home, and the midwives will come to our house the next day and do like all of the newborn testing and all of that. So yeah, and that is probably my last reasoning for using a midwife. So hope you found that helpful. I'm going to link my birth story down below for my son's birth in case you want to listen to that, because it was kind of scary for our first birth. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.